CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Welcome back to CMMS Radio. If you are not watching, that man on the screen is Corey Dickens. He is a CMRP, and we are going to talk about SMRP. It's coming up October 6th through 9th in Fort Worth, Texas. At the end of the conference on the 9th, that morning, there's an awesome tour available of AT&T Stadium. I encourage you to sign up for that. It's going to be cool. We'll get to see the physical plant there at the stadium, get some insights. That's cool stuff. Corey, welcome back to CMMS Radio.
Thanks for having me, dude. I don't know how many times this is now, but it's fine. We're just here to riff raft.
There it is, man. I'm
jealous of the tour, though, because you told me about it and you said it was limited, right? So I don't know if there's still access or not. If that's something that interests you, go see it. I can tell you, someone who's gone to a few of those stadiums and seen like the behind the scenes, dude, it's wicked. It's cool. And again, it's the same stuff that you see in a manufacturing facility, that you see in a hospital. Like plant operations is plant operations, right? Utilities and support. It's cool, though. The size is probably unique.
Yeah, well, certainly. And I mean, obviously, there's a lot to that stadium. So we'll leave that for everybody. I think it's going to be capped at 50 people. But getting back to SMRP itself, first of all, I know Brightly's going to be there. Everyone Brightly will be at booth 200. And if you want to get to this event as an attendee, on September 5th, that's the final day you can get the early bird pricing to attend, and you can use a discount code to get 10%. It's CMMS 10. So you can save an extra 10%. And I don't get anything out of that other than bringing people to a conference that I'm going to for the first time, doing a bunch of special stuff there that I can't quite talk about yet. Announcements are coming out soon. I'm going to be doing some cool stuff with you, Corey, and you are going to be there with Andy Knox as well. As I said, booth 200, and some of the hot topics that you're kind of interested in and that you expect to be a main theme for you and for Brightly. Can you share that with us a little bit?
I mean, if you don't know what Brightly does, obviously me and you have talked about it before. We talk about many things. You know, Brightly comes up, like they keep me in business. Let's just say that. So yeah, I'll be at the booth. I'm the demo person. So if you got questions about our CMMS, our IoT platform, capital planning, right? And again, it's not just for industry or process or general manufacturing. Again, we got different teams set up for, higher end education, healthcare, potentially some government and like public utilities. Again, like SMRP, it's people that focus on how to maintain systems. Right. Mm-hmm. And again, like a pump is a pump is a pump. The application and use of it is different, but almost everybody we talk to has got a pump. You got a building, you got electrical grids, you got something. You got something that you need to do better at maintaining. So that's what we're talking about. But again, I think I posted on LinkedIn, right? I found that template of bubbles from Trailer Park Boys. And dude, I saw that, I giggled so much, but I was like, I know how I'm going to use this. So I did the thing about like, SMRP, reliable plant, a lot of these places, right? You, me, Joe, George, Brian B., Matt Knuth, like those are our people. And those are people that are generally trying to help the industry and help our profession.
Yeah.
Messages like this, Joe and the facility assessments that they do, the prescriptive recommendations, Matt and the solutions that he brings, the experience he brings. We're all just trying to add value. We're trying to find like people that will listen and have a conversation. And this is the perfect spot. So it's awesome that I get paid to go to events to hang out with my friends.
Well, and what's really interesting about the way you put that is I'm out here shouting and chirping about this whole concept of the outcome. It's the outcome. It's the outcome. And what I really mean by that, I know we're in the business of doing something to generate business, but we love the concept and the focus on making it about the problem. Find the problem that you solve, that you're really good at. Understand the people that you're talking to. There's people that'll come to this event that they're really there to learn actual solutions. It's not a question of whether they're buying some software or some solutions. It's, do they find people at this event that are intentional about understanding what they're doing, how they're doing it, how they're succeeding, and how they could improve, or where they're struggling? And a lot of people say this now, and there are plenty of them that, I'm just going to say it, are not real about it. They're not all about it. So for everyone, this episode we're recording and the things we're doing, the reason I want to promote this event is I've heard so much about it for years and years and years. I've been asked to, hey, why aren't you there? Finally going, doing really cool stuff. And I know enough now from the experiences I've had at other conferences what makes an impact for a potential client, whether they become a client or not. So one of the things I learned a long time ago is, if you're a CMRP, and I'm sure it's for CMRT, and one of the central themes with SMRP, the Society for Maintenance and Reliability Professionals, is that you are a net contributor. What that means is, if Joe or Jill walks by and is talking about something that you understand, you jump in the conversation and you go further with that understanding, and you offer some solutions. Not, hey, buy this, but have you looked at this, and this? And then it's a handshake and you're off to whatever you're doing next. That's it. It's not about the money. It's about the outcome, and all that other stuff works itself out. I don't know if that's fair. I'm always on that soapbox, but what is your favorite thing about SMRP? Because I think you're still at a point where you can remember, like, the first time you went versus now, why you keep going. And it's not just because you get sent by Brightly and you get to do all that cool stuff. There's other reasons. Talk about that.
I mean, first, it's not in my contract or my employee agreement with Brightly, but it probably will be eventually, that, like, hey, this is a thing. There are a few places that Corey will go, and these are those things, right? And that's kind of how I've leveraged it. But again, there's obviously value for the business to be there. It's not just talking to potential people looking for CMMSs, right? Like, we were at Reliable Plant. Reliable Plant, if you're looking for sensors, that's for some reason that has become the place to go, right? Sensors were everywhere. But again, when you start to, like, strip that away, what were the other things going on? There were a few CMMS players, a few consulting groups, but, like, the core focus of Noria is, like, the lubrication excellence, right? So they did a very good job of highlighting that. SMRP, again, it's the community. So it's the educational tracks. It's aligned to the 5 pillars of the CMRP book body of knowledge, SMRP body of knowledge. It's getting involvement. We hold our annual business conference there. So we talk through, obviously, the metrics and where the direction the company's going. We vote on our executive leaders. I myself, with Trent Majunkin, are on the Carolina chapter leadership for our chapter.
Trent Majunkin, our boy.
There are chapters everywhere. Like, the Nebraska and Midwest one is probably the one that's most visibly active, or maybe even Houston.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are getting really good. I want to continue to do that. So SMRP, it's about the profession, not the solutions itself, right? I think most people that we know that have CMRP, the CMRP was something they got to, like, a badge or a validation of the knowledge they had already gained, right? I don't think I see many people with CMRP that, like, they studied for the test, they got the CMRP, and then they're like, oh, let me go into manufacturing, right? It's usually the opposite. So again, you mentioned, you see these CMRPs and they jump in. They jump in regardless if we had this designator or not, right? It's just another way of visibly showing, like, hey, I've gone there, I've busted my knuckles, I got my sweat equity, I got that T-shirt too. It's just this hodgepodge, right? That's my favorite thing about SMRP. Yes, it's a lot about the solutions and the EAMs and the CMMSs. At the end of the day, everyone goes to the educational tracks. That's one of the biggest things. And then just starting to get people active in SMRP. Like, you can choose this society. There are many other groups and similar things like it. This is a lot of us. We just kind of go to this one. I don't know. I keep going back because, like you said, someone sunk a hook in me my first one. And it was Joe. So my first one was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I wasn't a CMRP. I had just started at Brightly, so I had just gotten out of industry, came from that tech facility.
Yeah.
And I had no idea about SMRP to that point, right? Like there was a society that we were a part of as a company for like slings or round slings and textiles, nothing for maintenance and reliability. So as I started putting the puzzle piece together, I was like, hey, I want to go to this. And I'm just walking around blind, right? Just eyes wide open. I see all the CMMSs. I see all the EAMs. I'm trying to put all those pieces together, what the industry looks like, to get the perspective of someone who comes here, again, asking questions, hoping to leave with value.
Mm-hmm.
And, I gravitated towards George, but George was a very popular person. And Joe just kind of caught me in the side of his eye. And I guess he was free for a moment. He walked over. He was like, what's up, man? How can I help? And we just started the conversation. Ever since, that's been one of my favorite dudes in the industry.
Yeah. And that's the thing. So Reliability X, a lot of people know that I'm always talking about them being the real deal, the real pros, really super off the charts integrity, all that stuff. But if we take a step back and forget about all that kumbaya and all that, the reason it's important to me is that I get to see the consistency of how that really is. And when you talk about Joe Anderson or George Williams or Dan Anderson or Paul Croker or
Ramesh.
Angelica Williams.
Yeah, or Angelica.
And then you've got Ramesh Galati, who I'm finally going to get this opportunity to meet. It's really that heavy focus on maintenance and reliability best practices. Joe doesn't like to make things complicated. He likes to keep things simple. George is the same. Paul is the same across the board. I would suspect anybody that gets a chance to talk to Ramesh, and there's going to be I think they're doing something on stage where they're going to almost like go back and forth on the technology versus the practices.
Oh yeah.
They're really two separate things. Yeah. So that'll be good. I won't be able to go to some of that stuff. So I'm going to need people like you and other attendees, especially if they're first or second timers, to come over and kind of talk to me about it, because I want to capture that. That's the part I love about all these conferences, but SMRP is really special. We're going to see all these people that we know are going to, they're really there to add value. There's not just technology companies. No. There's also a lot of folks that will be putting on these workshops. So it's not just Reliability X that's going to be there. People and Processes is going to be there. There's going to be Iriditio and on. The list goes on, where they have great educational tracks. They have these workshops. They have these speaking sessions, and you get to engage across the board the whole time. Another person I want to shout out is Kevin Clark. He's with Nano Precise, and we're doing some cool stuff with Nano Precise. I'm going to talk, well, you know what? This is coming out next week, so I'm going to say it right now.
I'll say, when does this episode drop?
It's dropping right now, dude. I'll put it out next week. So CMMSradio presents Friends of Nano. And there is a list of participants that are going to be involved in that are sponsoring that are wanting to be part of not just the conference, but something special where they get in that sphere with Nano Precise, and they can talk about CMMS. They can talk about maintenance management, why they're different, what they really bring to the table. You guys are one of them. So I'm going to tell everyone that Brightly is going to be involved in this special production called CMMSradio presents Friends of Nano. And you, my friend, and we're also going to get Andy, will be able to sit down, record some stuff, talk about what you're learning, figure out what's new. What have we seen that's new? We're going to harp a lot about what's not new, what still needs to be a part of what people are doing. So, yeah. So let's switch this a little bit. So there's that announcement.
Can I make one point real quick? You're talking about what makes SMRP special.
Mm-hmm.
I said why it's special to me, right? The first hook was someone just taking me under their wing and treating me, not special, but just like real talk. Not a sales pitch, no fluff. Literally started pointing out different booths, started helping me understand the landscape, right? Bringing clarity to what was kind of a glossy eye view of what was going on, right? Mm-hmm. But we said this, if anyone has experience in the military, I'm sure you've heard this said a million times, it's what you make of it. There are a million conferences out there, a bunch with reliability in the name of it, right? And it's always a thing of which one's the conference. It's whichever one you find the most people like you, the best conversation, and the people that fit and help you, enable you, and help you where you want to go. Mm-hmm. Like that's it. And this, to me, this is that group of people.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, if I shouted out everyone right now, we'd be here for at least 20 more minutes just on that, because there's so many there and it's really exciting. So I hope people can get there. Don't forget, CMMS 10 is the discount you want to use if you're going to attend. Get 10% off. Get there, check it out, hook up with Corey and everyone else. I want to ask you something about this concept of gotta be first when it comes to vendors throughout our industry, whether it's manufacturing facilities and all this idea behind you gotta be first. What is it about that kind of, I don't want this to be negative, but what is it about that bugs you? And then, what is it that people could kind of do to not get blinded by the shiny, ooh, you got to do this, you got to do that, we're first at this, we're first at that? How do the customers out there, how do they navigate this landscape, in your opinion?
It's a great question. And if you go to www.bestcmmsouthere.com, right, you're going to get whoever's willing to pay the most money to get in front of you first, right? So stop thinking that what you see on the internet or what you read or these other things. Like, I think someone who did procure a CMMS, I 100% could have gone in with more information. I could have taken the time to car shop online more myself before I interacted with my first salesperson. If your first instinct is to reach out and start having a conversation with a salesperson, unless you've been there and done that, it's probably just going to be, you're getting funneled, right? You're getting funneled straight through it. Take a step back, take ownership, ask somebody, ask other people in your organization, connect with us at SMRP, where most CMMS vendors are going to be. Hey, what should I be looking for? You know what the first question is going to be? We're going to ask back is we're going to start asking you about your process, about your people, about your culture, about the objectives. Like, figure yourself out first before you start looking to others, right? What can you control and what can you influence? But more specifically, you mentioned there's a lot of people, there is going to be quite a few people here at this show. They don't get it, right? And I'll equate that, vendors, potentially, I'll equate that to ignorance is bliss. They don't know what they don't know. I'm not going to go in on anybody. They don't know better, right?
And they still have a job to do.
They have a job to do, but again, that's where you'll start doing the temperature check real quick on who actually, like, it's the first. Are they listening to position me, or are they listening to listen? Are they listening to understand? And that's where I always say, be curious, not judgmental. A lot of people will ask you a question and they're real quick to reply, real quick. They already have it prepped. They're funneling you. They're good at positioning you in a conversation to counter position something.
Yeah, they're gonna.
Jobs did this. He took like 19 seconds to reply to a very good question. Now, you don't need 19 seconds, but there is power in pause, right? And it helps me sometimes process. It helps also me cognitively show you that I'm listening and I'm understanding and I am digesting what you're putting out. So ignorance is bliss. There are going to be a few people like that.
Well, hey, they get an opportunity as well by being at a conference like this to connect and learn through their network, and they will improve.
Vendors, everyone needs to approach this conference with curiosity, not judgment. Again, no two people you talk to that are walking around looking at CMMSs because they think that's going to solve all their problems are going to have the same process, are going to have the same people, are going to have the same pain points, are going to have the same outlook or trajectory of their company. They're not going to have the same boss, right? Just be curious, man, even from the vendor side. Like, I love going to bigger conferences, like bigger machine trade shows. I guess not conference, trade shows, like Fab Tech, or I'm going to be at Pack Expo the week before SMRP, right? You know what the best thing is taking some of our newer salespeople and walking around and showing equipment and just pointing out things of like, this gets maintained, this is a ZERP fitting, this is what people mean by this is an HMI, this is this, like, just explaining it. And again, do I know it as intimately as a controls engineer? No, but I've had to maintain those things before. And I've done it without CMMSs and I've done it with CMMSs, and I have my own opinion on that. But yes, it is an opportunity for everyone to come in kind of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, willing to learn. If you're
Yeah,
not coming to this conference willing to learn, if you come walled off like you have all the answers, it's not worth your time.
not at all. And this whole concept of everybody getting together, that's why, some of these vendors and different people that think they know but don't know what they don't know, that opportunity is everywhere around them. And I don't know if everybody's going to be on board with this. I think a lot of us that really talk about this frequently over the last, I would say, 3.5 years, that we've been talking and connecting and becoming friends and talking about different scenarios. How do we solve these problems? Those competitive barriers really do need to come down, because we can solve a lot together. We can learn from one another. Now, I get it. Company A, B, C, there's different ways they compete. But when it comes to the industry, and that's the thing, the point I want to make about a conference like this is that it's about the people that are there to empower them. And the only way we can do that is if we understand them. It's not, hey, I've got this, it's X number of dollars. It's, what are you trying to do? Because you're you, your company's you. You don't do it exactly the way this company does or that company does. I want to understand. It's not about fear, uncertainty, and doubt. It's about understanding always. And that's that client centricity that I think is really important, and that constant chasing of the elusive win-win, because it's possible. Is it fast? Not really. And I think that's, and I don't mean everybody should work together like they're all super, super close buddies and all that. I think they just all need to be focused on the same thing. The slice of pie everybody's fighting over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bonkers, because if you go look and research the numbers, which we don't know the real numbers, but how many organizations don't have any, I hate saying this term, but like digital footprint of what they have. They don't have any software or a solution that allows them visibility past, present, and future on what they're doing. That is just shocking. But it tells you two things. One, if somebody wants to thrive in business, they don't always need a solution for maintenance management. Two, when they do, there is certainly opportunity for upside and to get to a point of continuous improvement. But there's also somewhere in between, which I think is where a lot of people fall when we look at the continuum. And with so many options out there, hundreds and hundreds of solutions, you can get sensor monitors and this and that and all that stuff.
And they all
People
seem
are
like easy buttons.
Yeah, and
They're all so like easy buttons. I'll say that. And we've come to accept it because we're all looking for something easy. Because far too
nothing
many
is
people,
easy.
Nothing good worth having is easy.
Yeah, you have to do the work.
They're
Brian
easy
Bieski, I'm always going to give him credit for, when I asked him different questions on the podcast or in person, he's just going to tell you, do the work.
Yeah.
Just do the work. Wow, it takes this long and it's this hard. Do the work. And
the biggest thing I think all of us as humans and in culture struggle with, right? And you'll find a group of people that maybe do better, and you're like, well, how are they so much better at that? Discipline, right? You
yeah,
can talk about the psychology of like a new solution presentation and the pain point it's going to have, and the ROI slide that someone shows you, and then it comes time for kickoff call, and people are like, oh, they just whatever it is, valley despair, whatever you want to call it. I want to come back to you. I'm sorry, I distracted us because I want to come back to one point, and then we went on a slightly different timeline and tangent, right? Yeah. I want to come back because you kind of hit on it there. The be first concept.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the movie Margin Call?
I think maybe once.
I saw clips of it and scrolling reels or whatever, saw clips of it and was like, all right, I want to watch that. It's very similar to, I forget which one. I don't think that was the one that Steve Carell was in. It was about the same thing though, right? It was the stock market crash, mid 2000s, the housing market crash, right?
2008.
And the CEO of this big company in Margin Call comes in, 2, 3 in the morning, something like that, sits in front of all this executive team, and they start going through what the problem statement is. And then he comes to it and asks the head guy next to him, he's like, what did I tell you about succeeding in business? Said, there's 3 ways to succeed in business. You can cheat. We don't cheat. You can be smarter. or you can be faster. That's why most people are taking the be first approach. Because if they can just get out there and message better than anyone that they are the first one to do this or they're the best at this, if they're just the first one, we just fall for it. We live in that environment of clickbait and other things like that, and it resonates. And unfortunately, it's successful and to a point. Again, we kind of talked about things worth having aren't easy. I would say falling for that type of stuff is generally easier than taking the smarter approach, taking time, letting things develop, see where things fall. I don't want to get political here, but again, you look at like the US versus China, right? And I'm still kind of tapped into it because of the military, but China's been around for thousands of years, right? There's an ingrained culture in how they process and how they strategically plan for things, right? The US and our culture has been around 250 years, right? Vastly different in legacy way or legacy cultural development of how we strategically plan things. Like China doesn't make decisions based on a 5, 10, 15-year outlook, right? They're making plans for hundreds of years, for decades at a time, right? Very slow developing, methodical, but hard to stop once it starts developing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, these are differences that we see throughout manufacturing, maintenance, not just the culture of a country, but the culture of the specific environments where things are getting done. And it's why we always go back to these basics. But then when we start to look at the long-term versus short-term implications, we're fast moving in North America, right? We want to move fast, keep going, make lots of progress, and then keep going from there. And that has its benefits, that has its outcomes that we want. And there's a lot of other things that can kind of confuse this. It's not political. It's complicated.
It is.
That's a better way to put it than political. It's complicated because there's a different vision for a culture and civilization that exists for a much longer period of time as to how they view the world. They got started sooner. We're little babies, but we're pretty good at some stuff. We're very innovative.
We are quick to iterate, but we do make some mistakes, right? What are we figuring out right now? One of the core mistakes we've made as a society was preaching colleges, not trades, right? And try to move more people away from an lower class, lower middle class to an upper middle class, a white collar society, right? Now what happens? Now you look at the industrial base of the US as compared to China if there is a potential conflict. They are orders of magnitude ahead and just say shipbuilding than we are. We don't have the right people with the right skills and the right equipment and the right infrastructure to rally and start cranking out ships tomorrow. China has a 350x industrial base output to ours in shipbuilding alone.
Yeah.
Right? So we talk about the industry, we're sounding the alarm about, hey, we need more trades. We see this as just a core fundamental sustainment of our lifestyle, our lifestyle. But then there are also these exterior parameters that'll start to infuse capital in changing course and direction. And that's going to come from the government looking at these potential national security risks, and they're going to dump money in, and they are into trade programs, right? Into automation of certain things and infrastructure development, XYZ. But one of the things that we have to get better at is figure out how to get people into maintenance. It's real cool to be a controls engineer. It's real cool to do this, that, the other, develop software, XYZ. That's great. You still got to have equipment that puts it together. That equipment has to be maintained. We have to be good at maintaining it.
Well, I do think, and we'll probably, this will be a major theme at SMRP, at least in the conversations, whether they're on stage or not, in a workshop or not. There is, I believe, and I think I'm safe on this, that there's a bit of a resurgence and a refocusing on the skilled trades, on manufacturing, on trade schools, vocational schools. You already know this. I am a huge supporter. And when I say huge, it doesn't mean I put a ton of money into it. I'm not a rich guy, but I'm a huge supporter of All Within My Hands. That is Metallica's nonprofit. And it does a bunch of other stuff, but it's got the Metallica Scholars Program. And what that does is it helps at the city college level to give them money and funds where scholars can come in and reskill and go into the trades. And it's all of it: welding, metalwork, which those are two different things, folks, sometimes related, sometimes not. They can learn, you mentioned PLCs and automation, all these different programs across the United States. They are now in every single state because that organization has other partners that support and get involved and say, yes, we need this. Yes, we want this. We got huge names out there that are constantly talking about it. They're not screwing around. They are all about it, top to bottom. They're wired this way. Mike Rowe. What about Mike Holmes?
Yep.
What about Andrew Brown?
Yep.
Right? We got other names out there. I mean, we could keep going and going. So
I'll say this. I want to continue to be positive about the work that they're doing because there are many organizations like that, and I encourage you to find local ones in your area. Probably the first thing I would say to parallel to that, if you want to get involved, the first Friday in October is going to be National Manufacturing Day. You go to mfgday.com, you can find a local event. I myself, I'm going to Central Carolina Community College. It's where I went to community college after I got out of the Navy, used my GI Bill. I was going for engineering because I thought I was smarter than I am. I got leveled real quick. But they have an industrial maintenance program, right? And I connected with the director of that program. He also knows Chuck Jarrell from 3M and has consistently been in leadership for SMRP, right? We're trying to see what we can do to help that program as well. Get involved in that, number one. Number two, bring shop class back to high school.
Oh, man.
Get kids hands-on.
That
Dude,
is...
I grew up blue collar. My grandfather was a master carpenter, right? I grew around small industrial town, XYZ. I did a shop class in high school for 2 weeks. You want to know why? Because I got in there and you know what the first skill test was? Do you know how to use a handsaw? You know how many people didn't?
A lot.
I was like, this ain't for me. Because again, they have to teach them. They have to teach them in blocks and it has to be building. I know how to do this. I was just doing it because it was an easy class. I was like, great, let me go figure out, take another PE or something like that where I can just be autonomous. I don't have to like be following these kids around or let alone me teaching them. But bring shop class back. I know there are a lot of movements about that. Get involved with your local organizations through manufacturingday.com. Also, if you work for a company, have your company get involved. They host it at facilities. They host it at community colleges. You talk about All Within My Hands, their scholarship. That is fantastic. 10 out of 10. I'd also say SMRP has a scholarship fund. Let's see what we can do to support that. Right? We need to get, are there people at your organization that they have an interest in going into maintenance and maybe we can fund them to go back to community college, do some programs, but also get their CMRT. Like you see all these people with CMRPs. I don't see enough CMRTs.
Interesting point that you're making there. Yeah, that's a really interesting point because we need this horsepower, right? We need these people at all these different levels. You don't absolutely have to be a CMRP. You don't have to be a reliability engineer to be at this conference and be part of this industry. You have to be in maintenance and you have to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk.
I want plant leaders there. I want ops managers there. I want safety professionals there.
Yeah.
Come see how Joe and George talk about this, how other people in the industry that are our friends talk about it. Maintenance isn't the responsibility of the maintenance group. All right. Joe's talked about this 100,000 times at this point. It's everyone's responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Like our cultural base shouldn't just be like, oh, this is this person's job and that's that person's job. That's how you get, well, that's not my job. You want to figure out how to fix this thing? It's a one team, one fight. Easier said than done. A lot of people that we know that are friends are very good at those kind of being those cultural change element or agents. I myself had fought this. And again, I didn't figure out the silver bullet for it. I wish I did. But again, it is something 100% you need to pay attention to. Safety is everyone's job. Quality is everyone's job. Maintaining equipment is everyone's job.
And reliability is everyone's job. So with that, I am looking forward to seeing you, Corey Dickens, at SMRP 2025, October 6th through 9th. Everyone, Brightly's going to be at booth 200, and I already let the cat out of the bag. Keep an eye out for the CMMS Radio booth where we are hosting CMMS Radio Presents Friends of Nano. That's Nano Precise. Shout out to Kevin Clark and his team. And I got a bunch of other announcements coming on that, so everybody keep an eye on CMMS Radio. Corey, thanks for being here with me, brother.
Thanks for having me, brother.
See you in Texas.
See you in Texas.
Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.